love to hear from you. We'll cover more news right after this break.
To NTD Newsroom, I'm Don Ma. President Trump charting his vision for the world's future. We recap his speech at the United Nations General Assembly. A secret telecom network used to threaten U.S. officials, which could have taken down emergency service calls. A closer look at the frightening discovery. A member of the CDC's Advisory Committee on Immunization Practices tells us evidence shows a strong link between acetaminophen, which is a key ingredient in Tylenol used during pregnancy, and autism. Google parent company Alphabet offers to restore YouTube accounts banned under the Biden administration. The platform says former White House officials had pressured it to remove content. The year's most powerful typhoon hit the Philippines and Taiwan. The storm now heads toward Hong Kong and southern China.
This is NTD Newsroom, live from our global headquarters in New York City.
Good afternoon, and thank you for joining us. President Trump emphasized the United States' peacemaking efforts and laid out his vision for the future of the world. Here are some clips from his speech at the United Nations General Assembly in New York City. Take a look.
In a period of just 7 months, I have ended 7 unendable wars. They said they were unendable. You're never going to get them solved. Some were going for 31 years. I've come here today to offer the hand of American leadership and friendship to any nation in this assembly that is willing to join us in forging a safer, more prosperous world. And it's a world that we'll be much happier with. A dramatically better future is within our reach. But to get there, we must reject the failed approaches of the past and work together to confront some of the greatest threats in history.
The president stressed the need to end the ongoing wars in Ukraine and Gaza. He said he disagrees with countries that recently recognized the Palestinian state, saying this rewards the Hamas terror group for their atrocities and could encourage continued conflict. Trump says we cannot forget the October 7th massacre and should demand the release of the hostages immediately. On Ukraine, Trump says China and India are the primary funders of the ongoing war by continuing to buy Russian oil. He says even some NATO countries have not cut off much imports of Russian energy products. If Russia refuses to make peace, the president asks European nations to join the U.S. in imposing strong tariffs on Russia. Trump also has new plans for humankind's most destructive weapons.
I'm also calling on every nation to join us in ending the development of biological weapons once and for all. And biological is terrible, and nuclear is even beyond, and we include nuclear in that. We want to have a cessation of the development of nuclear weapons. I'm announcing today that my administration will lead an international effort to enforce biological weapons convention, which is going to be meeting with the top leaders of the world by pioneering an AI verification system that everyone can trust. Hopefully, the UN can play a constructive role.
The president criticized the UN for funding what he called the uncontrolled migration crisis, especially at the U.S. southern border. He said the UN is supposed to stop invasions, not create them or finance them. He said every sovereign nation has the right to control its own borders. Trump also pointed to what he calls the green energy agenda, saying many European countries are devastating their own economies by abandoning fossil fuel. Trump also said the UN has tremendous potential and asked all nations to join the U.S. in defending free speech, religious liberty, and each nation's uniqueness.
It's a funny video.
The Secret Service says it has dismantled a massive hidden telecom network in New York that was used to anonymously make assassination threats against top U.S. officials. Investigators say the system could have also crippled cell towers and jammed 911 calls.
Definitely nation-state, foreign governments communicating over that network
to known criminals in the United States and known organized crime, known cartels, and terrorist groups were using this network to run their communications anonymously and encrypted. It can't be understated what this system is capable of doing. Like I said, it can take down cell towers, so then no longer can people communicate, right? You can't use Waze, you can't use text message, you can't use your cell phone.
The cache included more than 300 SIM servers with more than 100,000 SIM cards. It was located within 35 miles of the United Nations. The network could have blacked out cellular service, for example, during the United Nations General Assembly. Officials have not uncovered a direct plot against the assembly. Forensic analysis is ongoing, and authorities suspect nation-state actors. The operation highlights new risks to the invisible infrastructure of modern cities. French President Emmanuel Macron phoned President Trump last night at the moment he was being stopped at a street blocked off for Trump's motorcade during his trip to the United Nations General Assembly. In the footage, Macron is stopped by a New York City police officer. The French president expressed frustration over the disruption. The officer apologized and explained why the street was blocked off. Footage also captured Macron on the phone with Trump telling him about the episode. Watch.
Sorry, President, I'm really sorry. It's just that everything's in frozen right now. There's a motorcade coming away. That's why.
Oh, sorry. If you don't see it, let me cross. I negotiate with you. How are you? Guess what? I'm waiting in the street because everything is frozen for you. But you know, after I would love if you can have a short discussion with Ms. Qatar, the situation in Gaza, because the worst point.
President Trump canceled a planned White House meeting with Senate Democratic leader Chuck Schumer and House Democratic leader Hakeem Jeffries. In a Truth Social post today, Trump accused Democrats of making unserious and ridiculous demands in return for their votes to keep the government open. He added that no meeting with their congressional leaders could possibly be productive. The president listed a series of demands by Democrats. These include, quote, $1 trillion in new spending to continue free health care for illegal aliens, force taxpayers to fund transgender surgery for minors, try to force our country to again open our borders to criminals and to the world, allow men to play in women's sports, and essentially create transgender operations for everybody. Schumer and Jeffries previously said they plan to use the session to emphasize rising costs and what they called a Republican health care crisis. The two leaders warned that a lack of bipartisan talks would lead to a, quote, Republican-caused shutdown. The Department of Homeland Security says illegal immigration has hit record lows, while enforcement efforts have intensified. At the same time, a clash is brewing between the federal government and California over new restrictions on immigration agents. Here's the story.
For the past 4 months, the Department of Homeland Security says not a single illegal immigrant has been released into the United States. Officials say illegal crossings are down dramatically, with daily encounters dropping by more than 90% since January. DHS says during the same period, dozens of individuals on a terrorism watch list were caught trying to cross the southern border illegally. Officials also point to broader gains, saying that as millions of illegal immigrants leave, more American-born workers are filling jobs. Enforcement operations are also ramping up. DHS says ICE officers are targeting what they call the worst of the worst criminal illegal aliens. Arrests have included violent offenders across the nation, from child predators and gang members to those convicted of manslaughter and human trafficking. But immigration enforcement has faced growing resistance in some states. In California over the weekend, Governor Gavin Newsom signed the No Secret Police Act, banning most officers, including federal immigration agents, from wearing masks while on duty. DHS called the move unconstitutional and dangerous. Officials say ICE have already faced a 1,000% increase in assaults. They say masks are necessary to protect agents from violent gangs like MS-13 and Tren de Aragua. Secretary Kristi Noem told Fox News Monday the department will not comply with the mask ban.
And every time I'm in a room with our law enforcement officers, I'm talking to them before they go out on our streets, I'm just overwhelmed by the fact that all of these young men and women have families, that they all want to go home to their families at night too, and that people like Gavin Newsom are making it much more dangerous for them just to go do their jobs.
Newsom's office says the law is a direct response to earlier immigration raids in California, adding, quote, No one should be afraid that unidentified masked men will disappear your family members in broad daylight. The dispute is expected to play out in federal court, where precedent strongly favors the supremacy of federal law over state law.
The White House is standing behind border czar Tom Homan after a bribery allegation reported by MSNBC. White House Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt yesterday rejected the report, saying there was no evidence of wrongdoing. MSNBC reported on Saturday that last year, Homan accepted $50,000 from undercover agents posing as business people seeking government contracts. The outlet cited unnamed people familiar with the case and internal documents. The Justice Department said it found no credible evidence of any criminal wrongdoing after the matter was subjected to a full review. Homan also rejected the claims, telling Fox News he did nothing illegal. A federal judge today ordered the Trump administration to restore frozen federal grants to the University of California, Los Angeles in August. UCLA said the Trump administration froze funding of over $580 million. The move came after the federal government reprimanded the school for its handling of pro-Palestinian protests and anti-Semitism. Judge Rita Lynn ordered more than $500 million in funding restored to the university. In August, Lynn ordered the Trump administration to restore part of the suspended funding. The Trump administration has cut or threatened to withhold federal funds to universities over campus anti-Semitism. The government says universities, including UCLA, allowed displays of anti-Semitism to go unchecked during the protests. After the break, we talked to an ambassador who was at the United Nations General Gathering today in New York. Stay tuned for that.
I'm excited to announce that we're having a huge sale on overstock and brand new products. For example, MyPillow Percale bed sheets, every color, every style, every size, only $29.88. Our Percale bed sheets are breathable, cool and crisp, and they're perfect for spring and summer. And check out Rev 7, the next generation of energy drinks. It tastes great, and it gives you energy all day with no jitters and no crashes. Best of all, it's actually good for you. And for a limited time, try our 3-pack absolutely free. So go to mypillow.com or call the number on your screen. Use your promo code to save 20% on our Rev 7 12-packs, or try our introductory 3-pack absolutely free. And our Percale bed sheets, all sizes, only $29.88. Twin size, full size, queen size, king sizes, all $29.88. Inventory is extremely limited at this price, so order now.
Big things are happening at Mathis Home. Come in now for 65th anniversary savings all over the store. Like this oversized sofa in an ultra soft fabric with thick premium gel cushions and 5 throw pillows. Anniversary priced at just $9.99. That's an incredible value. Just one of over 100 great sofas in stock and ready for you to enjoy tonight with fast and easy financing and free delivery. Don't miss out on 65th anniversary savings happening now at your furniture superstore, Mathis Home.
There's a whirlwind of emotion and activity going on in this painting. And this chaos all around and threat from below. The wolves surrounding her, and they're anything but unmoved. They're moving all the time, and we sense that. But this little girl remains unmoved.
She's in quite a perilous situation, but she's completely strong and serene, and she's actually meditating. It was very, very well liked because no matter what culture or what sort of walk of life you're from, I think people, they see it and they immediately understand what that energy, what that message is, and they're drawn to it because everybody kind of needs a little bit of that in their own life, of, you know, the steadfast calmness and something to hold on to. It's definitely an inner peace in the midst of something very chaotic, and for a lot of people right now, the whole world is very, very chaotic. So I guess that's another reason why so many people are very drawn to this.
President Donald Trump addressed the UN General Assembly today. Joining us now to discuss is Ambassador Sam Brownback, co-chair of the International Religious Freedom Summit and former U.S. Ambassador at Large for International Religious Freedom. So first of all, good afternoon to you, Ambassador. It's always a pleasure to have you on here at NTD. How are you doing today?
Oh, great. Beautiful day outside. And also you can just kind of feel really things start to shift, I think, in a more positive direction. And it's, you know, following the horrible killing that took place of Charlie Kirk, but then that memorial service yesterday that was so uplifting, and then really pushing forward towards more freedom in the world. I mean, that's really at the root of it. What we're talking about is more freedom for people around the world.
Right. I mean, that memorial was really powerful, and we'll talk all about it in this interview later. But first, I wanted to get your reactions to what you heard President Trump say at the general meeting today, the UN gathering. Anything stand out to you, Ambassador?
Well, what stands out to me is calling a spade, you know, I mean, you're just calling it a spade. The lack of productivity of the United Nations over the years has been something that's been very difficult for a lot of people to watch. For me, I go to a number of very difficult spots around the world where there's tragedy happening, and the UN, unfortunately, is normally not much part of the solution. And you're thinking this should be part of the solution. And then it gets penetrated and taken over by, a lot of times, very disruptive forces around the world. The Chinese Communist Party and their impact on the WHO, World Health Organization, and other branches of the UN that they run and are taken over. And you're going, what good is this when you've got a dictatorial regime that's running a good portion of the United Nations? That's the thoughts that enter my mind.
Well, to your point, Ambassador, I actually brought a clip here with me. I'd like to have your reaction to it. It's Trump talking about the potential of the United Nations. Let's take a look.
The UN has such tremendous potential. I've always said it. It has such tremendous, tremendous potential, but it's not even coming close to living up to that potential for the most part.
You know, what's funny? Before Trump said that, he said he stopped 7 wars all by himself. And without the UN's help, right? He was joking. All he got from the United Nations was a bad escalator and a bad teleprompter. I was watching that. My colleague sitting next to me actually broke out in laughter. But, you know, I think what Trump's saying is true. There's a lot of potential. But the problem is they have to be united, right? It's literally in the name. Can you give us your reaction to what Trump said?
Well, I think it's absolutely right. And most people in the formation and in the continuation of the United Nations wants it to be successful. They want it to help with global problems. They want it to reduce conflicts in the world. They want it to stand for human rights, basic human rights. Like I'm talking about religious freedom and free speech in societies. And instead, it seems to get captured by notions that are either on the fringe or run by totalitarian regimes or dictators. And you're going, that's not the future of humanity. The future of humanity is not run by authoritarianisms. It's by free people living freely themselves. And that's what it should be standing for at the very heart of what it's about. And it has great potential to do it if it will do that.
Right, and you were actually at a rally directly outside of the meeting for a free Iran. And you know, the U.S. Department of State barred Iranian diplomats from visiting stores such as Costco, Sam's Club, and BJ's Wholesale Club while attending the UN General Assembly. So I want to read you a quote here. One official actually said, quote, "We will not allow the Iranian regime to allow its clerical elite to have a shopping spree in New York while the Iranian people endure poverty, crumbling infrastructure, and dire shortages of water and electricity." So that's a quote from one official. So you say regime change in Iran is crucial for peace in the Middle East. Why is that, and how do you see that happening?
How many terrorist movements is the Iranian regime funding right now while their own people don't have adequate water or electricity? They fund the Hamas, they fund Hezbollah, they fund the Houthis. I heard a new one today in North Africa that they're funding. They fund all these terrorist movements that bring terrorism to the world. They're one of the lead sponsors of terrorism in the world. Their own infrastructure is crumbling. They're not taking care of their own people. They're more concerned about the will of the people being expressed and moving forward in Iran than they are about facing off against any other country and the persecution they do of their own people. They don't allow any religious freedom to take place, even though the Quran says there's no compulsion in religion. That's why I say this is one of these key regimes. It's a charter member of the axis of evil of China, Russia, and Iran. And you're not going to get peace in the Middle East in any iteration until that regime is changed in Tehran.
Okay, I do want to talk to you about Erica Kirk and her speech as well, but let me just ask one more thing on the United Nations Assembly. What was going through your mind when you heard Trump saying that he wants to limit biological weapons development and research and that the UN is supporting uncontrolled migrants? What were you thinking?
Well, on the biological research, absolutely. This is really dangerous. I mean, you saw what happened when the Wuhan virus got out and killed millions of people around the world. Here is an area that you would hope the United Nations could bring people together and say, yes, we want to stop all of this. We want to stop all of this. And, you know, you need to have solid borders, and you need to have a legal immigration system. I'm for immigration, but I'm for legal immigration, not illegal. Just blow over the borders and whoever comes in. That's, I think, really a key issue that the global community, you would think, could really get behind and be supportive of.
Right, and President Trump was saying something that, you know, really makes sense. And it's kind of obvious. He's saying a nation has the right to control its own borders. It's literally common sense to me. So I want to move on to Erica Kirk. And Ambassador, you served as a U.S. Ambassador at Large for International Religious Freedom and have spoken tirelessly about the importance of faith and its ability to give strength to enable overcoming the unthinkable. So in the wake of Turning Point USA founder Charlie Kirk's assassination, there's been a lot of talk among conservatives, you know, about a Christian revival and a revival of faith in America. Do you think that's what we're witnessing here, and what does that mean for America?
I do think it's what you're witnessing, and it's something I've prayed for years, is a revival. That we are spiritual beings. We're filled with the Spirit of God within us. And yet it seems like so much of modern society just tries to contain that or ignore that or say that's not there. And yet you see Erica Kirk in this time of great distress, relying completely on her faith and being able to stand up there and say to her husband's killer, I forgive you. You can't do that without just a core center of faith within you. No, you're seeing an increase in Bible sales. You're seeing an increase of people going to church. It seems like to me we've declined a long ways, hit the bottom, and lunge back up now. And Charlie Kirk, who was a great witness and testimony, I loved one of the quotes saying yesterday that when the king or the dictator dies, his reign ends. When the martyr dies, his reign begins. And I think you really saw yesterday this surge and launch forward of saying, let's re-embrace the very heart of this civilization, which is built on faith. It's built on faith. And I saw that happening yesterday, and I think you'll see it even grow in the days to come.
And, you know, we were talking about her speech with our guests yesterday, and I was saying that, you know, if I were in her shoes, I honestly doubt that I'll be able to do what she did. And she did it in less than 2 weeks. If it were like maybe years or something, I mean, that's more reasonable. But what makes it so remarkable is that she was able to do this in mere days. And I think faith really helped her to do that. And I'm so curious as to what was going through your mind when you first heard her say that.
Well, I was amazed. What was going through my mind was she needed to say that. As a man of faith, I follow Jesus. I know that's what I'm supposed to say. It is so raw at this moment. Can I say it? Can I even get the words out? And she did. I was really astounded. And I said, that's, most things of faith are caught, not taught. You see it and you go, that really strikes you. That really struck me.
You know, why is it that, you know, often people turn to faith in times of hardship? You see that time and time again. How does faith empower someone to show compassion in the face of unimaginable loss?
You know, it's the human existence. If you're either going to get bitter or you're going to get better. When you're faced with a catastrophic situation like what she was faced with, you're either going to choose a route of anger and revenge and getting even with the world, or you're going to choose a route of saying, I don't like what happened, but I forgive, I want to grow, I want to become better through this and witness to that to the world. You've got really this dual approach, one of the two ways, bitter or better, and she's become better through this.
Yeah, and she really echoed that yesterday, saying responding hate with more hate is never the answer. And Ambassador, I understand that you have a new book coming out this spring called China's War on Faith. The Chinese Communist Party is the worst violator, of religious freedom in the world and the most brutal, right? Even carrying out live forced organ harvesting on prisoners of conscience, for example, Falun Gong adherents and Uyghur Muslims. So this is a book that is shedding light on these situations and is greatly needed right now, Ambassador. What compelled you to write this book now?
It's my experience as Ambassador for Religious Freedom, my seeing of the Chinese Communist Party's complete war on all faiths. I mean, it's on Christians, it's on Muslims, it's on Buddhists, it's on Falun Gong. It's everybody. They are scared of faith. They're officially atheistic. They're opposed to faith. But they also see it as this essential piece of their control. The first group attacked, usually by authoritarians or the religious communities, the last ones left standing are the religious communities. If we support freedom and democracy around the world, you gotta stand with those people of faith as they stand up against the totalitarians. And China is the biggest one of them in the world. They're the most organized, they fund the most all around the world, and they seek to run the world. The world in the future will it'll either look like China and a big dictatorship with religion held down, or it'll be a free world. This is a fight to the death between those two diametrically different worldviews.
And I don't want to take up too much of your time, Ambassador. I'll ask you one more thing. What do you hope readers will take away from reading your book?
We've got to deal with it. You got to confront it. They are at war with us. Much of the problem for the United States is often just kind of getting our attention and focus. And the Chinese Communist Party is at war with us. And it's not the Chinese people. My wife and I, we have an adopted daughter from China. I love the Chinese people. I love the Chinese civilization. But that's not who's running the country right now. It's the Chinese Communist Party with a world control vision that they have. And a Navy now rivaling ours, a Blue Sea Navy. Why? And what do you want with that? And yet you see in the places that they operate, it's about control, it's about money, it's about resources, but it's never about faith other than to control and subdue it. It's always about putting faith down, and yet 80% of the world people have a faith that's dynamic, that's a big part of what they are as a person, that really is their inner soul, their inner being. And they want to subdue all of that. This is a big fight that the world's got to engage, and it's time to start.
Wow. Thank you for your time, Ambassador, today, and we would love to have you back on after the book is released to talk to us more about it.
I'd be happy to do it. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, we're going to take a quick break now. Stay tuned for more news right after this.
Hi, I'm Ryan Blaney, a third-generation race car driver, and we dedicate a lot of our time to going as fast as possible. My grandpa Lou is the reason why my dad and I started racing, and I'm really proud to follow in his tracks. But when my grandpa was diagnosed with Alzheimer's, it was a very unexpected bump in the road for us. I've learned a lot on this journey with my grandpa Lou, and the memories of my grandpa will always be with me. And in our family, we're used to getting involved, and I encourage you to do the same, especially when it comes to caring for your loved ones. When I think about Alzheimer's and the impact it had on my family, I recognize that losing a race isn't such a bad day after all. It's important to notice if older family members are acting differently, experiencing problems with their memory, or having trouble with routine tasks. Talking about Alzheimer's can be really tough, but if you notice something, have a conversation with your loved one. Encourage them to see a doctor or offer to go with them. Early detection of Alzheimer's can give your family time to explore support services, make a plan for the future, and access available treatments. If you or your family are noticing changes, it could be Alzheimer's. Talk about seeing a doctor together.
There is a road laid out for me.
Boxes everywhere, and this is gonna be Addie's room.
I am blind,
Would you really like it?
I hope so. Yeah. I know this road is there for me. There is a long way.
First night here, but Amy seems cool.
Waist down by the river. I am blind, but I need not see.
I got this.
I know this road is there for me.
Okay.
If I'm really free, take me down to the river and wash me.
An update on Jimmy Kimmel's late night show. The broadcasting company Sinclair says it will hold off airing the show amid ongoing controversy over Kimmel's remarks about Charlie Kirk's assassination. Sinclair wrote on X that it will be preempting Jimmy Kimmel Live across its ABC affiliate news stations and replacing it with news programming. The company added that discussions with ABC are ongoing as it evaluates the show's potential return. Yesterday's announcement came the same day ABC said it would return Kimmel's show to air after a brief suspension in response to his comments on Charlie Kirk's alleged shooter. Kimmel seemed to imply that Kirk's assassination was MAGA, or Republican motivated. The suspect's family said he subscribed to a left-wing ideology. Utah Governor Spencer Cox said bullet casings were found with messages like, "Hey, fascist." FCC Chairman Brendan Carr said Jimmy Kimmel's comments could be construed as intentionally misleading. Google says it will restore YouTube accounts that were banned after pressure from the Biden administration. Google told the House Judiciary Committee the Biden administration pushed for removing certain users even though their content did not violate its policies. In a letter to the committee, Google's attorneys wrote that White House officials had repeatedly reached out to regarding content related to the COVID-19 pandemic. Google said the administration pressured it to remove material about the virus and government response, even though such content was within YouTube's rules. The letter read in part, quote, "It is unacceptable and wrong when any government, including the Biden administration, attempts to dictate how the company operates content." The statement added that Alphabet has consistently fought against those efforts on First Amendment grounds. The Trump administration says evidence suggests that the use of acetaminophen, the key ingredient in Tylenol, is linked to autism in children if it is used during pregnancy. Joining us now to discuss is Dr. Robert Malone, best known for being an outspoken contributor to mRNA vaccine technology. He's now a member of the CDC's Advisory Committee on Immunization Practices, or ACIP for short. He's also a medical advisor to MAHA Action. So, Dr. Malone, it's always great to see you. First of all, can you explain for us what is the current evidence and how does it show how strong that link really is?
So there are multiple very large studies, epidemiologic studies, that show a very clear correlation between the development of autism and both fetal and infant exposure to Tylenol. In addition, there's a letter now that has been made public by the head of the Harvard School of Public Health in which she explicitly endorses the association between the finding of an association between Tylenol administration during pregnancy and development of neurologic development disorders. So in particular, the link seems to be quite strong with hyperactivity disorder, but also with autism proper. There is an abundance of papers there have supporting this, and almost all of the very large studies support this association. There seems to have been a number of smaller studies that have the appearance of potential manipulation by the pharmaceutical industry, in which underpowered studies do not show the association. This is the notorious studies designed to fail strategy. But when you look at the large epidemiologic association studies, including the ones recently performed, the review performed by the Harvard School of Public Health, you'll find that the link is fairly clear and certainly strong enough to merit the actions that are being taken by the Trump administration and HHS in general, which are really pan-HHS. They involve CDC, FDA, NIH, and CMS all cooperating together.
So President Trump also said that frequent early childhood vaccination may also contribute to increased autism rates. Can you talk to us about what the evidence shows on that front?
The evidence there is less clear, but there is the appearance that there's been an active suppression of investigation and publication relating to that topic area. So that is a topic area that is to be considered by the Advisory Committee on Immunization Practices. And I should say at this moment, I'm not representing the government, the CDC, or the ACIP here. These are my own opinions, but it's anticipated that, and this is public information, that there will be an assessment of the pediatric vaccine schedule. And President Trump has shared his opinion about what he thinks regarding that schedule and the tight administration over short periods of time, or concurrent administration of multiple vaccine products. It's important to recognize that the most common side effects associated with vaccines are acute and inflammatory, that we call this reactogenicity. And among those are fever. And of course, fever has been treated historically as under the advice of the various pediatric associations. Fever has been treated with Tylenol. And the advocacy has been that you treat fever promptly with Tylenol. And fever is often associated with vaccine administration, particularly when you have multiple doses. So it may be that the association between, that many are hypothesizing, that there is an association between vaccines and autism, may turn out to be another case of association rather than causation, so correlation rather than causation. And it may be that the confounding factor is the advice to administer Tylenol to treat any maternal or pediatric fever.
Can we get your reactions to, the President of the United States making such an announcement, and what could be the knock-on effects of the statement on Big Pharma?
So I'd like to quote three things from the president's speech the other day, his press conference. One of those is, he says, "I'm making these statements from me," his own words. Then he says, "I talk about a lot of common sense." Then this is the really key statement, in addition to the one that he originally made at the very start of the announcement. So he said, "This will be as important as any single thing I've done." You'll recall at the very beginning of his press conference, he said that he has been waiting 20 years for this day, for this announcement, for this moment where he's able to put his finger on one thing that's associated with autism. It's interesting to observe that Barron Trump is now 19, going on 20 years old. President Trump has had the issue of autism at the forefront of his mind and children's health for 2 decades at least. Another statement that was made during the meeting was that President Trump met with Bobby Kennedy, I had no idea this, 20 years ago to discuss these matters. So that would be concurrent with Barron Trump's birth. So what we have here is the president basically going off script. You can tell that by the kind of slight discomfort that Bobby had and the walk back that he did a little bit with some of the statements. But the president feels very, very strongly about revisiting the childhood vaccine schedule, getting to the bottom of the cause of autism, and generally protecting health for children in the United States. These are so central to his worldview that he's willing to risk his political future in this very contentious environment to advocate for these things. And you talking about the long-range implications, this is not a good day for the pharmaceutical industry, nor is it a good day for the various pediatrician advocacy groups and professional societies. They have been advocating the widespread use of Tylenol now for decades and decades. And it appears that their advocacy and their ignoring the data that have been out there for quite a long time may have contributed to avoidable autism spectrum disorder and hyperactivity disorder in American children. And the president is clearly willing to go to the mat, metaphorically speaking, to advocate for children and children's health.
Okay, Dr. Malone, I would just like to ask one more thing. What do you say to the argument that the Trump administration shouldn't be treating autism as a disease or something wrong that needs to be fixed, or that perhaps this is genetic?
So there is apparently a very slight association between genetics and development of autism. But as the president strongly spoke, this cannot account for the rise in autism diagnoses to the point where it's in double or even in some case single-digit prevalence. In other words, something between 1 in 30 and 1 in 10, particularly, well, let's say children, are experiencing autism spectrum disorder or hyperactivity disorder. And that doesn't happen. Genetics don't change that fast. Even epigenetics don't change that fast. So this really strongly indicates that there is some sort of environmental exposure. And the president appropriately noted that there are a number of countries or regions and cultures, such as the Amish, that don't use Tylenol and have an exceedingly low incidence of autism, or essentially no autism. So those are very strong, practical, real-world examples that support the epidemiologic studies indicating an association.
Well, okay, Dr. Malone, it's always great to hear your insight. Thank you so much for giving us your time today.
Thanks for having me on and for paying attention to this important topic.
Thank you. Jurors reached a verdict today in the trial regarding President Trump and an attempted assassination. Ryan Ruth was found guilty on all charges. That includes attempting to assassinate a major presidential candidate, assaulting a federal officer, and multiple charges related to firearms. The jury reached the verdict after closing arguments today. In September 2024, Ruth was accused of hiding in the bushes with a firearm near Trump. Trump was golfing in West Palm Beach at the time. The year's most powerful typhoon hit the Philippines and Taiwan. The storm now heads toward Hong Kong and southern China. We'll give you more information after this break.
£6 prescription glasses from Select Specs are always great value. There are no offer codes or first-time customers only. Anyone can buy them, anytime. And you can upgrade to Select Specs Express for next-day delivery. And with deferred payments, you can spread the cost.
See now, pay later with Select Specs £6 specs. Next day delivery and deferred payment options available at selectspecs.com/£6.
Amazing grace, how sweet the sound that saved a wretch like me. I once was lost, but now I'm found. Was blind, but now I see.
They're just young people, hungry, homeless, and vulnerable. Abused youth often feel safer on the street. Now, more than ever, that's the most dangerous place of all. Covenant House is helping young adults facing homelessness. We're providing safe shelter to thousands, but the need is overwhelming, and no young person is ever turned away. Please call or go online now with your gift of $19 a month to help a young person. You'll provide safe shelter, hot meals, and medical care. Your gift will show them they're loved. Homeless young people are afraid and alone with nowhere else to turn.
You want to know that there's somewhere you can go that's safe. So the Covenant House did that for us.
Please call now with your gift of $19 a month. We'll send you this blanket as a reminder of the comfort your gift provides a young person tonight. Please don't wait. Your gift is the lifeline a young person needs now. Call the number on your screen or go online to safeplacetosleep.org. Thank you for saving precious lives.
Discover the ancient secret to vitality and longevity with Puretang Black Ginseng. Crafted from premium 6-year-old Korean ginseng, each root is carefully nurtured for over 2,260 days, undergoing a traditional 9-round handcrafted process of steaming and drying to unlock full potency and absorption. Experience pure, natural energy with Puretang Black Ginseng. Order now at puretang.com.
The year's most powerful typhoon has left a trail of destruction in its wake after pummeling the Philippines and Taiwan. The storm is now on its way to Hong Kong and southern China, leading businesses to close and schools to cancel classes. NTD's Andrew Thomas has the latest.
Super Typhoon Ragasa is producing hurricane-force winds with sustained gusts of up to 134 miles per hour. Video in the northern Philippines showed heavy downpour and downed trees. Locals could be seen wading through floodwaters. In footage released by the Philippine Coast Guard, emergency personnel were seen rescuing residents. Aerial footage captured the devastating aftermath, with homes submerged under the floodwaters. On Taiwan's east coast, a barrier lake burst, causing a river to overflow. Footage showed water gushing across a bridge, sending a massive flood through the surrounding area. Eyewitness video also captured massive waves crashing onto the shore off Taiwan's Orchid Island. Taiwanese officials say at least 30 people remain missing. Dubbed Typhoon Ragasa, the storm was heading west and was expected to remain in the South China Sea into Wednesday. Forecasts showed Ragasa hitting Hong Kong before making landfall on the Chinese mainland. Andrew Thomas, NTD News.
Next, we take a closer look at a concerning development. A media report found that some Chinese students affiliated with the Chinese Communist Party are setting up party branches on U.S. campuses. To break it down, NTD's Tiffany Meyer spoke with Philip Lenczecki, senior investigative reporter at the Daily Caller News Foundation and the author of the report. Let's dive in.
We found, dozens, over 2 dozen Chinese Communist Party members that have come to study in the United States. And these students came through joint programs between 3 universities in the United States and 2 universities in China. The United States schools were the University of Colorado, Denver, University of Nebraska-Lincoln, and Oklahoma State University. And what we found is that the students from China, among them, were Chinese Communist Party members, and that they were more or less directed to establish Chinese Communist Party branches here in the United States. And while studying in the United States, they maintained contact with their Chinese host, institutions, and would carry out their wishes, which included spreading propaganda and, participating in political and ideological training sessions and all manner of things.
I want to dig into that last part a bit. What exactly are these overseas party branches trying to do on these American campuses?
When we look at these schools, for starters, they are training all their students, whether they're members of the Chinese Communist Party or not, before they go to China. It is a requirement for them to undergo political and ideological training before they go. Then once they're here, the students that are members of the Chinese Communist Party then have to engage in webinars and things like that back with their party branch headquarters back in China. And that might be that they're participating in seminars, or that might be that they participate in some type of observances for certain events. There was one instance where one of the members was taking part in the 200th birthday of Karl Marx. So it comes up in different ways, and they're being directed both when they're in China and overseas to do things that we've seen in other stories. So for instance, they're being told to, quote unquote, tell China's story well, and they're being told to do that to their U.S. Colleagues at school. So this is something that's just directed at their classmates.
There's also other examples. You have the Confucius Institutes, which used to be in the headlines. Now they're under different names, kind of hard to track those down. You have the CSSAs. There's all of this coming out, right? There's a history of Chinese espionage, some of those being students in the country. With these overseas party branches, how does that fit in, and what are the concerns with that?
That's interesting that you mentioned the Chinese Students and Scholars Association. One of the individuals that we found at the University of Colorado, Denver, also happened to be the number 2 at that school's Chinese Students and Scholars Association. So there does appear to be an overlap between the party branch members and those student groups that are actually official on campus. And these Chinese Students and Scholars Associations are, number 1, explicitly in contact and under the local Chinese consulates. In this case, for Colorado, they were in contact with and meeting with the Chicago Chinese consulate. And secondly, more broadly, it's been reported by the State Department and others that the entire system of these Chinese Students and Scholars Associations are under the control of a Chinese intelligence service called the United Front Work Department. So again, this raises serious questions and concerns about what all these students could be up to, especially given that some of them are, as we found, members of the Chinese Communist Party themselves.
We do know, Michael Lucci with State Armor, he works a lot at the state level to try and implement or get legislation moving on that. Have you seen anything on the state or even federal level to counter some of what we're talking about here, the concerns here, especially these overseas party branches?
Specifically, what occurred is that Michael Lucci and his organization, they went to, in one example, Nebraska, and they worked with a state representative, Elliot Bostar, and they were able to pass LB 644, a bill that the governor signed recently, and it's going to try to fight back against Chinese Communist Party influence operations in their state, and would require essentially at the state level some type of registration for those that are operating at the behest of a foreign power. So it would be something that it would be a state solution akin to what we have at the federal level with the Foreign Agents Registration Act. This will go into effect on October 1st, I'm told. And at that time, what I'm led to believe was that these individuals who are members of these party branches would then potentially be required to register as being a part of, the Chinese Communist Party, if nothing else, and that failure to do so would potentially result in civil, if not criminal, penalties.
Well, Philip Lenzicki, as always, thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks so much for having me, Tiffany.
And for more exclusive China news and in-depth analysis, tune in to China in Focus with Tiffany Meyer at 9 p.m. Eastern right here on NTD. Fat Bear Week is upon us. The fan-favorite voting contest that pits fat bears against one another is back. And like its chunky challengers, it's bigger than ever. Take a look.
Fall is here, and you know what that means. Fat Bear Week is rearing up and roaring back to the interwebs, and thank goodness, because we could all use the distraction. After all, nothing says brain break like beefy barrel-bellied brown bears battling for big butt bragging rights. Once again, rangers at Alaska's Katmai National Park and Preserve are tracking weight in the wild to see which bears are packing on the most pounds for winter, and they say this year's results are impressive. I mean, really, though, how much weight could a bear gain? Go! Excuse you? It's mostly water weight. Okay, chubs. Once again, the hulking heavyweights go head to huge honkin' head in online bracket-style voting, which is already underway at explore.org. And just like the bears, the park says the contest has grown enormously. Last year, more than 1.4 million people from 60 countries cast votes. It's like March Madness for morbid obesity, but minus the morbidity. Girthy gains are actually essential for these majestic creatures to have a better chance at surviving the 6-month hibernation period. So technically, it's a good thing, but I mean, good gravy. What's this about gravy? No, you're good. Oh.
President Trump has now denounced the Venezuelan regime as a narco-terrorist organization before world leaders at the UN General Assembly. Trump promised to continue to use military force to protect Americans from the poisons of illicit drugs. Stay with us for that and more when we return from this break.
Shenyun Creations, the streaming platform from Shenyun, featuring world-class dance, past programs, and all original music. Masterclasses, behind the scenes, comedy, and more. Explore shenyuncreations.com.
Hi, I'm Susan Lucci. You may know me from my many years on television. I never thought about heart disease until I had my own heart event. I felt this slight pressure on my chest, just slight. I thought, oh, it's nothing, it'll go away. I didn't get it. I did not get it. A few days later, while shopping at a boutique, that pressure returned, much stronger. It felt like an elephant pressing on my chest. I had a 90% blockage in my main artery and a 75% blockage in the adjacent artery. I was rushed into surgery where I received 2 stents in my arteries. Stents developed through research funded by the American Heart Association. Those stents saved my life. That's why I'm in front of you today, asking you to join me in supporting the American Heart Association by becoming a monthly donor. Call now or go to helpheart.org. For only $19 a month, just 63 cents a day, you can help fund the next medical breakthrough. Get the next person trained in CPR, the next hospital certified in high-quality cardiovascular care. I'm so grateful to the American Heart Association. Their research helped save my life. I can enjoy life with my children, my grandchildren, and my friends. Heart disease is America's #1 killer, and your support now can help save your life or the life of someone you love. Give $19 a month with your credit card, and we'll send you this special t-shirt that you can wear to show that you are helping save lives. Please, listen to your heart. The only reason I'm here today is because I did. So please call the number on your screen or go to helpheart.org now. Join me as a monthly donor today and help save even more lives. Thank you.
Kids love it. Parents trust it. Obviously.
Obviously.
Explore GJW.